Last episode, you learned to intercept a request and resend it in repeater. That's manual testing, one request at a time. Today, we automate and analyze. This is episode 10, Burp Suite Intermediate, and we are covering the 4 tools that turn you from someone who tests by hand into someone who tests at scale: intruder, decoder, comparer, and sequencer. By the end, you'll know exactly when to reach for each one. Let's start with the big one, the tool you'll reach for constantly once you know it. Intruder. Intruder takes a single request and fires it hundreds or thousands of times, changing one or more values each time. Here's how it works. You send a request to intruder, then you mark payload positions, the spots you want to swap out, like a username, a password, or an ID. Then you load a payload list, for example, a word list of common passwords. Hit start and intruder fires a request for every payload and shows you the results in a table. There are 4 attack types. Sniper puts one payload set through one position at a time, and it's the one you'll use most. Battering ram puts the same payload in every position at once. Pitchfork runs multiple payload sets in parallel, like matching usernames to passwords. And cluster bomb tries every combination of multiple sets. Don't memorize all 4, just know sniper is your default. So what do you actually use it for? Brute forcing a login by trying a password list against one username. Fuzzing a parameter with a list of payloads to find injection points. Or enumerating IDs, incrementing a number to find data you shouldn't see. The key skill is reading the results table. You sort by status code and by response length, because the odd one out, the response that's a different length or a different status than all the others, is usually your hit. One honest caveat, the free community edition throttles intruder to a slow speed. It still works for learning, but for real speed, you'll either use the paid professional edition or a free extension called Turbo Intruder, which we'll cover next episode. The next tool is small, but you'll use it every single day. Decoder. Remember episode 6, where we covered encoding, base64, URL encoding, hex, and hashing? Decoder is where you deal with all of that. Inside Burp, you paste in a value and decoder can decode it from base64, URL encoding, hex, HTML, and more, or encode it the other way. It can also hash a value with MD5, SHA, and others. And at chains, you can base64 decode something, then URL decode the result step by step. The smart decode button even tries to guess the encoding for you. Anytime you see a weird looking token or parameter, decoder is the fastest way to figure out what it actually is. The third tool is comparer, and it does one simple thing extremely well. It shows you the difference between 2 pieces of data. You load 2 responses or 2 requests, and comparer highlights exactly what changed word by word or byte by byte. Why does that matter? Because a lot of bugs hide in tiny differences. Log in as a normal user, then as an admin, and compare the 2 responses. The extra fields the admin sees might be your access control bug. Or in a blind attack, where the page looks identical, comparer catches the one word change that tells you your payload worked. When 2 responses look the same but shouldn't be, comparer is how you prove it. The last tool is the most specialized and the one beginners skip. Don't. It's sequencer. Sequencer answers one question. Are these tokens actually random? Oh. Think about a session cookie, a password reset token, or a CSRF token. If an attacker can predict the next one, they can hijack accounts. Sequencer takes a few thousand of these tokens and runs statistical tests on them to measure how much real randomness, called entropy, they contain. You point it at a request that issues a token, tell it to capture a couple thousand, and it grades the randomness for you. If the result comes back as low entropy, you may have found a serious bug: predictable tokens. It's a niche tool, but when it hits hard. So how do these 4 fit together with what you already know? Picture a real test. You find an interesting request and explore it by hand in repeater. You automate it across a word list in intruder. You hit a value you don't understand, so you drop it into decoder to make sense of it. You compare a normal response against a privileged one in comparer to spot hidden differences. And when you find a token, you test its randomness in sequencer. Repeater and intruder do the attacking. Decoder, comparer, and sequencer help you understand what you're seeing. 4 good tips. 1. In intruder, add a grip match rule to automatically flag responses containing a keyword, like the word welcome after a successful login. 2. The community edition throttles intruder, so keep payload lists small while learning and reach for Turbo Intruder later. 3. In decoder, try smart decode first, it saves you guessing the encoding. And 4. Make comparer a habit for any access control test, normal user versus privileged user, every time. Here's why these matter. Repeater made you dangerous by hand. These 4 make you dangerous at scale. Almost every attack you'll learn from here on uses at least one of them. Brute forcing and fuzzing run through Intruder. Making sense of encoded data runs through Decoder. Spotting subtle access control flaws runs through Comparer. And testing whether tokens are guessable runs through Sequencer. You don't need to master all 4 today, you need to know which tool solves which problem, so when you hit that problem, you reach for the right one. Let's lock it in. 1. Intruder automates a request across a payload list, and Sniper is your default attack type. 2. Read the results table by status and length. The odd one out is your hit. 3. Decoder decodes, and hashes values and chains them together. 4. Comparer shows the exact difference between 2 responses, perfect for access control and blind bugs. And 5. Sequencer measures whether tokens are truly random. In short this, you've now got the intermediate burp toolkit. Next episode we go advanced, the Burp Store extensions that supercharge Burp, Turbo Intruder for firing thousands of requests fast, and macros for handling sessions automatically. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and drop a comment telling me which tool clicked for you, Intruder, Decoder, Comparer or Sequencer. Get your hands on them and I'll see you in the next one.